Now, unless I'm watching a really popular anime, I usually give an anime a maximum of 3 episodes before deciding whether I should keep watching it or just completely throw it in the trash. And there are only a few anime that have managed to hook me within the first episode alone. And that's exactly what I'm gonna yap about today. So, I have the top 10 anime that hooked me with the very first episode. So, without further delay, let's get going. To start off the list, we have Delico's Nursery. The opening episode of this anime is hauntingly beautiful, drawing you into a world that feels both enchanting and unsettling. Set in a post-apocalyptic landscape, the show follows a caretaker for orphaned children in a strange, dreamlike facility known as the Nursery. The episode captures a quiet melancholy, evoking the same eerie yet tender atmosphere as shows like Made in Abyss. The main character is immediately intriguing, a calm and stoic figure whose motivations remain enigmatic, and the children in his care are portrayed with a mix of innocence and unease, with their peculiar behaviors hinting at something far darker beneath the surface. And the animation is breathtaking, with juicy backgrounds that contrast sharply with the desolation of the outside world. The pacing is great as well, allowing the audience to soak in the environment while piecing together clues about the nursery. Despite its slower tempo, the episode maintains a sense of foreboding, suggesting that something sinister lies just beneath the surface. But by the time the credits roll, you are left with more questions than answers. But the sheer intrigue of its premise ensures they'll want to come back for more. Then at number 9, we've got My Dear Friend Nokotan. Alright, I'll be honest. The opening was actually the one that hooked me first for this anime. I mean, this brain rot was literally everywhere. The first episode of My Dear Friend Nokotan was a delightful surprise, brimming with charm and surreal humor. The story follows a deer-human hybrid whose quirky personality immediately steals the spotlight. The episode is filled with absurd scenarios and whimsical interactions that make it impossible to predict what will happen next. What stands out most is the show's balance between comedy and heart. The Deer Girl's oddball nature could easily veer into over-the-top territory in her interactions with other characters, particularly the skeptical protagonist, evoke both laughter and empathy. And from time to time, you need a breather from all the depression shows like Attack on Titan or Jujutsu Kaisen give you with shows like this. Nichijou did it then, Nokotan is now. So don't take it seriously, just enjoy it. Then at number 8, we have Trillion Game. The story of 2 friends who team up to create a company with the goal of earning $1 trillion. Sounds like the same plan you and your bro made back in the day, right? Well, where are your $1 trillion, huh? The first episode of Trillion Game establishes a gripping and ambitious foundation and perfectly embodies the thrill of this high-stakes business venture. We are introduced to Haru, an audacious dreamer with an uncanny ability to charm and manipulate, and Gaku, a reserved tech genius who initially doesn't want to join Haru's grandiose schemes, but ends up going with it anyway. The dynamic between these 2 characters is just magnetic, almost similar to the duos in shows like The Great Pretender. The episode kicks off with Haru's bold proclamation to make $1 trillion and dominate the world, not through brute force, but by outsmarting everyone in the corporate landscape. This audacious premise immediately sets the tone for a story brimming with tension, wit, and high energy, and the animation does an excellent job of heightening this atmosphere, with sharp character designs and dynamic transitions that keep the momentum alive. But what stands out the most is how the show balances between humor and ambition. It is funny, but also thrilling at the same time. The episode also excels in its pacing. It dives straight into the action, leaving no room for filler, while still offering glimpses into the personal stakes driving both protagonists. So overall, it's an episode that hooks you right up for a show filled with emotions. After that, at number 7, we have MGI Brilliant Park. The first episode of this roller coaster is a delightful mix of comedy, fantasy, and intrigue that sets the stage for a truly unique story. A confident and somewhat narcissistic high school student is dragged into the world of MGI Brilliant Park, a failing amusement park with a secret. The park is not just a business, but a sanctuary for magical beings, and its survival depends on the main character stepping in as its unlikely savior. The premise is quirky, and the execution is nothing short of captivating. The episodes lean heavily into absurd comedy, particularly through the interactions between the main character and the stoic and gun-toting park employee who forces him into this bizarre situation in the first place. Their dynamic echoes the comedic tension seen, but with an extra layer of whimsy, thanks to the fantastical setting. And the episode also introduces a colorful cast of park mascots, each with their own eccentricities, adding to the charm. And the animation is done by Kyoto Animation. There is no bigger compliment than that. The animation brings the park to life with vibrant colors and detailed backgrounds that make every scene feel magical. And beneath the comedy lies a hint of emotional depth. The park's residents rely on its success for their very existence, creating stakes that go beyond financial concerns. So this blend of humor, fantasy, and underlying stakes make for a fantastic opening. By the end, MGI Brilliant Park leaves you curious about how the main character will rise to the challenge, making it an engaging and memorable start. Next at number 6, we have The Magical Girl and the Evil Lieutenant Used to Be Arch Enemies. A story about how a former magical girl and an evil lieutenant join forces to confront new threats. The first episode of this anime is a roller coaster of comedic brilliance and heartfelt moments. From the outset, the episode cleverly subverts expectations, presenting its premise with a self-aware humor. It is a delightful mix of the sassy main character and her banter with the straight-laced lieutenant. It's such a highlight of the episode, and the chemistry between them drives the narrative, with their begrudging friendship that also sparks some interesting feelings. Their clashes are not only hilarious, but also layered with moments that hint at a shared history filled with tension and respect. So overall, a really good start to a really good anime. So if you haven't seen this one yet, please go do so. Then at number 5, we have Blue Lock. Okay, I'll get to season 2 later, but let's start with what we're actually here for. So only a few anime premiere episodes hit as hard as Blue Lock's debut, which plunges you headfirst into the fierce world of ego-driven soccer. The opening moments establishes the stakes. Only one striker will emerge victorious in this brutal competition, and the rest will lose their chance to play for Japan. It's a premise that immediately sets itself apart from the other sports anime, and the psychological edge makes it thrilling from start to finish. Visually, the episode is a masterpiece. The animation by 8-Bit Studio elevates every moment, from the intense facial expressions of the players to the kinetic energy of the soccer matches. The dynamic camera angles during key scenes create an immersive experience, making you feel every goal, every loss, and every moment of tension. And talking about visuals, let's talk about Season 2. So in the last episode of Season 2, PNG Lock decides to turn into Peak Lock for the last 7 minutes, and those black bars literally change the viewing experience. But all of these make me even more mad. Cause just imagine we could have gotten this level of visuals if it just wasn't for some damn executives who couldn't let their ego go. They just couldn't delay the anime for a few months. That's kind of poetic, actually. But all that aside, I'm still putting up my hopes on Season 2 and seeing what the animators are truly capable of. I just hope that it gets the right treatment. Then at number 4, we have Re:Zero. The opening episode of Re:Zero wastes no time in immersing viewers in a world of fantasy, danger, and mystery. The story begins with an ordinary young man who is suddenly transported to a fantastical realm with no explanation. What follows is a whirlwind of action, intrigue, and heartbreak, as the main character discovers he has the ability to reset time upon death, a power that is both a blessing and a curse. The emotional weight of the first episode cannot be overstated. Subaru's realization of his ability and its consequences hits hard, as the narrative pulls no punches in showing the physical and psychological toll of his journey. The episode leaves you questioning what they would do in his place, setting the stage for a series that masterfully blends fantasy, drama, and psychological tension. And the episode's strength lies in its pacing. It starts with lighthearted moments, showcasing the main character's confusion and enthusiasm for his new surroundings, but quickly shifts gear into darker territory. And after that, the anime doesn't seem to turn back. It only gets worse and worse. And if you are only an anime-only watcher, you have no idea what's to come, so be prepared. Next up on the third spot, we have Orb on the Movements of the Earth. Set in a world where celestial events impact daily life, this anime follows a group of adventurers as they navigate a universe shaped by the intricate movements of the Earth and the celestial bodies around it. The debut episode takes quite a clever approach, offering an experience that feels more like reading a poetic essay than watching an anime. The show opens with breathtaking visuals of celestial bodies and humanity's connection to the universe, and immediately expressing itself as a deeply philosophical exploration. So if you like stuff like Mushishi or the Tatami Galaxy, this episode will feel just like home. The story carefully balances its intellectual approach with simple storytelling, making it enjoyable even for viewers with just one brain cell. While it lacks the high-energy appeal for an action-packed series, the pacing feels deliberate, and the visuals immerse you in its meditative atmosphere. And talking about visuals, the series opts for subdued, painterly backgrounds that enhance its reflective tone. The animation style might not be flashy, but but it complements the story's dense mood perfectly. So while the first episode might not appeal to everyone, particularly those seeking action or fast-paced storytelling, for people who enjoy this sort of storytelling, it's just the best hook possible. After that, at the runners-up of today's list, we have To Your Eternity. The first episode of this gem of an anime is a breathtaking masterpiece that immediately establishes the series as a deeply emotional and thought-provoking journey. The story begins with the arrival of an orb sent to Earth, capable of taking on different forms. Its different transformation is into a rock, then a wolf, and finally a boy who embarks on a journey of self-discovery and survival. The episode focuses on the boy, a lonely figure stranded in a frozen wilderness. His hope for survival and reunion with his people is both heartbreaking and inspiring, showcasing the fragility of life and the strength of the human spirit. The storytelling is simple yet profound, with very little dialogue but an immense emotional impact. And the music plays a crucial role in heightening the emotional stakes. The somber, haunting score underscores the loneliness of the boy's journey and the bittersweet nature of the orb's transformation. And by the end of the episode, you are left with a profound sense of loss and awe as the orb begins to understand the complexity of life and death. So it is the perfect hook of an episode. And by any chance you haven't watched this show yet, what are you doing here? Go watch it. But at the top spot of today's list, we have none other than Death Note. One of the founding pillars of the anime community and undoubtedly one of the best anime ever created. And the first episode was nothing short of greatness as well. Setting the standard for anime debut, from the moment Light discovers the Death Note, the show hooks you up with its gripping premise and morally complex protagonist. The episode wastes no time introducing its central theme, the corrupting influence of power. Light's transformation from an ordinary high school student into a self-proclaimed god of justice is as chilling as it is compelling. The pacing is masterful, pulling the audience into Light's psyche as he tests the Death Note's powers and grapples with the consequences of his actions. Visually, the episode excels with its dramatic lighting and meticulous attention to detail. The animation captures the tension of every scene, particularly during Light's inner monologues and the eerie moments when he writes in the Death Note. And I've got nothing but to compliment the original soundtrack because it is nothing but iconic. So this episode is basically the embodiment of the perfect episode that will hook you, and it will take you for a joyride. Well, that's the list for today, guys. If you were able to make it this far, please be sure to comment down below on which anime you think should have been on this list, or what anime has hooked you. Also, while you're here and you liked the video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, as we are always pushing out more content just like this. And while you're there, don't forget to press on that bell icon and set us all to be notified about all our latest new videos. And as for now, I'll catch you later. See you in the next one.